The Emperor Amir Timur, the man whose statue we'd seen in Tashkent, took this city as his capital in the 14th century after conquering most of Central Asia. These great buildings were religious schools he and his ancestors built to spread the word of Islam.
The first time I came to Samarkand, I was 14 years old, and I fell in love with the city straight away. No matter how many different countries I visited, I still love the city. I think this is the most favorite city of all I've seen.
They're very kindly allowing us to go down and have a look at the actual site where Amir Timur is buried, which is a privilege if you were allowed.
There is a legend or a myth that the one who will open the grave of Amir Timur, then the terrible fate will fall onto the nation and the great war will erupt. There were Russian scientists who came from Moscow and St. Petersburg. Basically, the grave was opened in the evening of 21st of June 1941, and then the elderly people came to those scientists and showed them in the books that you cannot do this, otherwise the war will start. And in the morning of 22nd of June 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union.
Rita,
Huh?
why have we got a policeman escorting us out?
Well, because it's not allowed to go up to the minaret, but we kind of agreed that he will help us. We'll just pay a little bit of money, and he will take us up.
Well, you're bribing a public official, Shahida.
Well, the government should pay enough to public officials for them not to take any bribes and do something illegal.
Having bribed the policeman, we went through a secret door behind a carpet store and headed towards one of the famous minarets.
Okay, be very careful.
Okay. Yep.
I see light ahead.
Coming down is going to be fun.
Oh. Well, I better stay here.
Central Asia has always been a crossroads between East and West. It was here in Samarkand in the 14th century that Chinese traders met Spanish merchants and globalization began.
It's sour yogurt, but it's not cow's milk, it's goat's milk. Organic. What do you think? Is it better than in Kyrgyzstan?
No, that's really horrible. That's really horrible. It's got the consistency of a billiard ball. And it tastes disgusting.
Kidding me? It's wonderful. Cultural differences.
The other ancient treasure given to the Uzbeks by Stalin, to the anger of the majority Tajiks here, is the city of Bukhara.
Well, look how lucky we are. We thought the weather was going to be bad, but the sky is such a gorgeous blue, and this looks amazing.
And the God has heard your prayers for the good weather.
You think?
Well, it's a holy city.
The holiest city.
It's the holiest city in Central Asia. They don't know the secret of this color, how it was made. And they have very big problems during the restoration works. They were trying to approach it and they were somewhere close to it. But you know, the new color, it cannot stay as long as that one. And people say that probably one of the reasons it stays for centuries is that because they mix it with human blood.
This tower's had a checkered history. It used to be used for executions, and people who annoyed the local ruler or who committed a crime were dragged up here in a sack and then thrown off the top. People used to gather down below to watch the blood seeping out onto the stones. See, it's still used for executions.
The big domes inside, the speaking big imam. Inside, the people's many.
So people before electronic microphones, people could be at this end, and they could still hear the imam at the end because the small. How many domes? The small domes.
208.
208. And the noise, the sound would echo all around the building.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Fortune-telling is frowned upon by Islam, but even in the holiest of cities there are those practicing the ancient art. She's looking for my future in the pages of the Quran.
She's saying that you are a very genuine and sincere person, a person with an open heart, with no hidden thoughts.
Lekin xohlamayapsiz. Sizga katta yo'l mana. Bu ikkinchi marta borib kelgandan keyin ana bu ko'rishdi.
Well, she said somebody proposed me recently and I refused.
She said that somebody proposed to you and you refused.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's true?
Yes.
Wow.
İşlerinize umut versin İlahim. Hay şu yakta önce menişin hay.
You cannot take their words literally, to be honest.
What are you saying? I thought that was the whole idea. What's the point in coming to a fortune teller if you can't take their words literally?
Well, it's not like straight, it's not that straightforward.
What do you mean it's not? You go to see a fortune teller to find out your fortune and what will happen in the future.
They're telling you the directions.
Oh, I see.
What people say is that they have bad angels and good angels. So bad angels, they kind of reveal your history, your background. But most of the fortune tellers cannot say exactly what will happen to you in the future. Because what Islamic people say, it's because only part of your future is revealed to your bad angels. And not everything, because only God knows, and no one else what will happen to you in the future.
I think part of what makes Bukhara so special is just the sheer tranquility of the city. I mean, we're here in this amazing space, and there's hardly anybody here, which is great if you're a visitor, but obviously not so good for the Uzbek economy. I'm just interested to know whether you're generally optimistic about the future or generally pessimistic.
Well, I am pessimistic. I understand that sooner or later, if the country's problems are not going to be addressed by the government, then we'll have a potentially very dangerous conflict in Uzbekistan, which will spread out around the whole Central Asia.
I can only hope that the future looks a bit brighter than it appears at the moment.
We say inshallah.
Inshallah.
Some things are beyond our powers, although we have to try hard.
Things have changed since my visit to Uzbekistan, and not for the better. Suicide bombers have launched a series of attacks across the country, killing scores of people. As I originally feared, Islamic militancy is growing, most likely in response to Uzbekistan's support for the United States and internal repression. President Karimov maintains his grip on power by imprisoning and torturing his opponents. According to a UN report last year, torture in Uzbekistan is systematic. The opposition, meanwhile, is excluded from elections, and even the Open Society Institute, funded by the democracy campaigner George Soros, has been expelled from the country. Public discontent is growing in Uzbekistan, and the people are increasingly challenging their government. Just a few weeks ago, several thousand people rioted to protest against new trade restrictions imposed by the government.
And it tastes disgusting.
Kidding me? This is wonderful.
Cultural differences.
But there's been good news for Shahida, the exiled Uzbek who returned to her country and showed me around. She now works for the BBC, and we've spent the past 6 months filming a new television series about breakaway states and unrecognised nations. There's more about that programme and the stands on our website, cbc.ca/correspondent. You can write to us by email or via the website. Thanks for watching. I'm Simon Reeve. Good night.